MAGA absolutely escalating its war against Ron DeSantis. It's just full scale now at this point with all of their allies. Let's go ahead and put Donald Trump Jr. there up on the screen. So here's what he said. Quote, just as radical Dems are indicting Trump and destroying the fabric of our nation with their police state tactics, DeSantis pathetically runs to the liberal media on orders from his rhino establishment owners to attack my father. He is exposing himself as 100% controlled opposition. Let's go next to Jason Miller, who currently works for the Trump campaign. He says, Ron DeSantis has finally shown his true colors, an establishment never Trumper who despises the MAGA base and was faking it the entire time. Similarly, also Mike Cernovich, who we cited here a couple times on the show. And again, to note, he is somebody who is pro-Ron DeSantis, does not necessarily want to see Trump, but thinks that the way DeSantis is handling himself is not wise. Let's put his up there. He says, I'm, quote, looking forward to the big brains explaining to me that this is actually brilliant timing for a full attack on Trump. So I think if you put all of these together, what you really have is kind of a horseshoe effect of people who were MAGA and don't want Trump to be the nominee and were pro-DeSantis but think he's not doing well, on top of what I have seen is a major escalation of MAGA-like forces online who are really willing to take the gloves off against DeSantis. I've seen like Gavin Wax, who is the, I believe he works for the New York Republican Club, Raheem Kassam, as I mentioned, War Room, people like Steve Bannon and others who are 100% with Trump. To some extent, like, you wouldn't necessarily say that that wouldn't be the case, but the fact that they're willing to do it so early is, I think, a problem for DeSantis. Also, in terms of DeSantis's calendar, so from what I've asked and read around, here's what I hear. I hear he's waiting for the Florida legislature session to end so he can be like, look at all of these things that I've done. I think that's stupid for a number of reasons. As we've already seen now in the polling that we just covered, he's sinking like a rock whenever he's getting attacked. Two, you're not actually going to do anything in the Florida legislature that's all that like big of a deal. For example, whenever he was asked by the reporters about his Trump's attacks on him, he was at an event banning central bank digital currency. Now, listen, I actually think that's important on a policy level. I also do not think that a single voter is like, you know what? We need to ban CBDC. Like, I just don't. Go to the diner where all those people said that they were
Warren vibes.
Right? It's one of those where if you go to the diner where all those Florida boomers said they were going to vote for Trump and not DeSantis when Fox News was trying to get them to say that they would vote for Ron DeSantis. Like, ask them what a CBDC is. They have no idea. Now, I'm not saying it isn't important, but you can't say, like, I am the only governor who ran on CBDC. It was kind of the same thing with the Soros DA attack. The Soros DA, yeah, again, he's correct on the policy. He did remove Soros DA, but, like, that's not what this was about. It was about Trump. It's not about violent crime spiking in New York. Like, sure, we can talk about that. If you do become the nominee, that would be a great line of attack about why you're a good governor. That's not what the base wants to hear about right now.
Yeah.
So it's one of those where I continue to see him almost succumbing a bit too much to online vibes. And then the biggest one, which actually broke last night, Krystal, is about him distancing himself from his previous comments on Ukraine. So he came out and he said, actually, Putin is a war criminal. He said, my territorial dispute line was mischaracterized by Tucker Carlson. Tucker actually attacked him later that night, making fun of anybody who gives into the war criminal line. And then what he did say was, he's like, well, it was mischaracterized as a war criminal. And he cited the John McCain gas station line. Now, to be fair, I actually think the gas station line is good.
Basically a gas station with a bunch of nuclear
I have used that line before because I do think it is accurate. That said, if you were, I'm not a Republican politician, and if I would never do that if I was somebody who was running on some sort of restraint position, simply because I know that where it would come from. He did himself no favors by borrowing the line and started very much kind of it. Look, what I've always seen with him is he wants to have it both ways. He wants to be MAGA in some cases, and then he wants to be the guy who can hobnob with Ken Griffin and all these other billionaire donors. Apparently, Reid Hoffman now wants to back his campaign, which is nuts. One of the largest Democratic donors is opening some financing spaces. Puck News, Teddy over there. So, look, I think he's in a tough position, especially with Ukraine, because that's what the donor class really probably hated him the most for. And I don't think he's politically playing this right. I really don't.
The Ukraine thing is really fascinating to me because it shows you that all of the elite freak out over his original comments that got to him. It definitely got to him. And because I think his campaign, number one, if you just look at the polling, the one thing that's really consistent is Trump wins a large majority of non-college educated. DeSantis is more popular among college educated voters. Those would be the type that even within the Republican coalition would be more likely to be pro-Ukraine aid. And then also, you know, he's got to look at, okay, well, where's my financing? Where's my funding coming from? And I do not doubt that there were a number of donors who were upset with the original tenor of the comments to Tucker Carlson. So I think that's really very interesting and very telling. I also think that the extreme pushback from a number of figures, both like, you know, MAGA adjacent and actually MAGA, over the incredibly tepid criticism that he levies at Trump is also really telling. Because again, Trump is going in on this guy, like dropping, I mean, all the data he can about Florida is actually a terrible place, and he's an average governor, and it's all a mirage. And by the way, he might be a gay groomer. I mean, no holds barred from Trump. DeSantis says these like little tiny passive aggressive, won't even say his name, jabs. And they're like, how dare you attack Donald Trump during his hour of need, right? And I mean, they're able to do that because I think the Republican base is ultra sensitive to any criticism of Trump because they feel like all of it is unfair and all of it is coming from the liberal media. So it makes it very difficult to lay a glove on Trump whatsoever, even if in the most mild, tepid way. And meanwhile, it's just, again, baked into the cake that you expect Trump to go like to another level that you can't even imagine when it comes to his attacks on Ron DeSantis. So it is not an even playing field in terms of the critiques you're allowed to levy one against another. And, you know, I've been trying to think about, we've been covering this as like DeSantis is making a bunch of mistakes. And I do think that he's not playing his hand in the best way possible. I also don't know that there really is a winning hand here. That's right. Because the bottom line is that Trump still is the leader of this party, and the majority of Republicans still really like Donald Trump. And you know what, guys? He is maddening, and I got all kinds of issues with him. He is an extraordinary politician when he's on his game, and you can see it. I mean, he is on his game lately. So I don't know that there is a way that you play this hand that you end up beating Trump in this cycle. Now, listen, let me put the caveats out there. It's early. There are all kinds of things that could happen. The man is likely to be indicted next week. He's likely to face other indictments down the road. We don't know what's going to be revealed. We think we know everything about these cases. We may not. And so things can definitely change. It is a long road to the nomination. I do want to put all of that out there. But the way things stand today, I think no matter what Ron DeSantis did, I think it is very, very difficult to unseat Donald Trump from winning the nomination.
Definitely agree. Co-sign everything you said.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.